Hey, what's up, guys? It's Cody here, and in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what's going on this upcoming week and what's going to be important for Bitcoin and the crypto market. But before we get to that, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and also follow me on Twitter and on Threads. So we have some really important events going on this week, but I first want to set the stage with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin chart TA. So if we take a look at our Bitcoin chart TA, what we've seen is the past couple of days, it's largely gone sideways. It hasn't really gone anywhere, and it's been pretty stagnant for about a week now. Now, what's interesting about that is we see a decrease in volume over the past week, and we're starting to see a bunch of the volatility kind of leave the space. Now, this is something that's going to change this week because right now Bitcoin does not have enough volume. It does not have enough buying activity or selling activity to either push above this channel that we're in right now or fall through the bottom of this channel. So we've been going sideways for the past week. This week will change everything. Expect to see major volatility this week, and there are a couple of reasons why. First, I want to talk about a Bitcoin-specific reason, and that is if we go over here to Deribit, we can check out Bitcoin options. And specifically, we have a large number of Bitcoin options that are expiring on the 28th. That's going to be Friday. About $2 billion worth of Bitcoin options are expiring on Friday. So expect this week, coming into this week, that we're going to wind up seeing some extreme volatility. Most of these, as usual, are calls, and a small amount are puts, but the majority are calls, so they're majority bullish on the Bitcoin price. And if you take a look at the max pain price here, we can see for that day, it's at about 29,000. So it's going to likely kind of gravitate towards about 29,000 by the end of the week. Now, this kind of varies greatly on some of the other events that we're going to talk about, but this just gives us an idea from an options perspective that there are going to be plenty of market makers and buyers and sellers who are trying to push the price to about 29,000. Now, that's a reason why we might wind up seeing some huge volatility, but there's also a really important other reason that's not specifically Bitcoin related, but what's going on in the broader markets this week. And if we go over here to earnings whispers, we can see that we have a massive number of companies that are going to be releasing earnings that week, Monday through Friday. And specifically, what I'm talking about here is going to be big tech, because on Tuesday, we have Microsoft, we have Alphabet, we also have Visa as well. And Wednesday, we have Meta, that's big. And Thursday, we are going to be having companies like MasterCard releasing, and we're also going to be having some additional tech companies released throughout the week, like Intel. So this week, especially, I would say here on Tuesday is going to be a huge volatility type of week, because even though they aren't crypto focused companies, they are crypto adjacent. And the big tech does tend to move the NASDAQ, and the NASDAQ does tend to move Bitcoin as a whole. Now, this has been kind of not as strong lately. We haven't seen that effect work quite as strong, but we're still going to wind up seeing some residual effects, because a rising tide lifts all boats. And if we do see these companies miss earnings, we could potentially see the markets go down, and that would take Bitcoin likely down with it as well. So these are going to be some pretty big days going on throughout the week. This is something that everyone should pay attention to, regardless if you're just interested in crypto or just stocks. But that is another reason why we could wind up seeing Bitcoin move out of this channel. I do think that by the end of this week, we'll get a Bitcoin pop to the upside, or it'll fall through the bottom here, and I am fairly confident in that. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at our economic calendar for MarketWatch, what we can see on here is that you have some reports on Tuesday, the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. That's important for the real estate, and also for, I would say, inflation as well, to know where home prices are. You also have Wednesday, and Wednesday is going to be the biggest day, and that is going to be the FOMC decision on interest rate policy. So they're going to make a decision whether or not they're going to be raising interest rates, or they're going to stand pat. Most likely, they're going to wind up raising interest rates. We'll get to that in a minute. But Fed Chair Jerome Powell is also going to be giving a press conference as well. Every single time he moves the market, and he moves not only traditional markets, but also crypto markets as well. So expect that Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be incredibly volatile days as investors digest what he's saying. And I could expect that right now, Jerome Powell is probably going to wind up being a little bit more hawkish. He has been hawkish in the past couple of times that he's talked and given these press conferences. But if he shows just a little bit of dovishness, if he says, okay, we only have 1 or 2 more rate hikes after that and we're basically done, that would definitely be the signal that the bulls are waiting for, that the end of the rate hikes. That will be a monumentally bullish sign for the economy and for crypto. And then on Thursday, you have jobless claims, which is important. You have GDP, gross domestic product reporting as well. And then on Friday, you have personal consumption expenditures, PCE. This is important for inflation and those inflation metrics. It would be nice if this PCE report came out before the FOMC decision, but it's not, so there's not much we can do about that. But looking at the PCE index gives us a good idea of whether or not inflation's going up or going down. Now, as for the FOMC itself and the decision, if you go over here to the CME FedWatch tool, we can see that it's basically priced in at this point a 99% chance of them raising by 25 basis points. And this is important because at this point, this has been priced into the market. For stocks, for crypto, for everything, it is priced into the market. Now, if they come in and they decide instead to pause, very small chance of that happening, that would be very bullish. But what's important is what Powell says on that press conference. If they come out here and they say, okay, we're only going to do 1 more after this and then we're done, that would be the signal, okay, for some of these longs to finally move into their positions. And Bitcoin will rally on that news. And if, however, they're overly hawkish, if Powell's overly hawkish and says, okay, we need to do more rate hikes after that, and then we need to, especially if he says we need to keep it higher for longer, that is going to be perceived very negatively by the market, and we could wind up seeing a negative reaction. Now, last time we had the FOMC, I outlined it here on this arrow, you can see that that was almost the bottom of that June sell-off here. Now, you remember, Jerome Powell came on the press conference and he said, okay, we're making progress with inflation, but we need to keep it higher for longer. And he also talked about having additional rate hikes as well. And that sent the entire Bitcoin market down. You can see here on that day, 3%, massive volatility day, fantastic buying opportunity for me. And that was close to the last time that I bought Bitcoin. So if we do see a massive overreaction like this to the downside, I will be there ready to buy Bitcoin and buy this capitulation. And you can see here that that was a very short-lived capitulation as it rallied all the way back up to 31,500. So this right here is going to be some pretty big volatility. We could have the opportunity to push into the short liquidation field finally on this volatility, or we could wind up getting a breakdown all the way here to about 28K. One of these two things will happen this week, okay? Depending upon these events and what Powell says in that meeting. Now, as for inflation itself, if you go and take a look at Trueflation, you can see that we're about 2.33% for inflation. This is right where the Fed wants inflation right now at about 2% or so. So I personally do not expect that it's going to wind up being higher for longer, more rate hikes, more rate hikes, more rate hikes. Remember, the more rate hikes that we see, the worse things are for Bitcoin, because the more rate hikes we see, it tends to strengthen the dollar, okay? And the dollar tends to move inversely to Bitcoin, okay? Because, and then, of course, you have a more risk-off market. Investors don't want to buy Bitcoin, they don't want to buy crypto, and they'll stay on the sidelines in their money market accounts and their CDs, okay? So that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys are looking out for this week. Is there an event that I missed, something else that's going on with Bitcoin or the greater macro economy that needs to be talked about? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.